Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to today's learning session. I'm your moderator, Dua, and thank you for taking the time to join us as we learn more about Roadmunk for account admins. After the session today, you should be more familiar with the admin tasks that will help you manage your roadmaps more efficiently, like adding and managing your team's roles and permissions, establishing standardized naming conventions, and much more. Our presenter today is Cheryl. She's one of our Roadmunk resident experts. Specifically, she's one of our onboarding and education experts, and she is very excited to share her knowledge with you. So I will let you take it away, Cheryl.
Super. Thank you so much, Dua, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining our session today. We're going to be going over account administration training. And it's something that we really put a lot of emphasis on, because we find that when our account admins start off their users on the right foot by using our best practices, then the users will also adopt them as well. So today I'm going to be going back and forth between my screens and my Roadmunk account, so I can show you how you can go about doing all of the functions within Roadmunk itself. So the agenda, we're going to talk about adding and managing users in Roadmunk, and then we're going to talk about the roles and permissions of those users. Then we're going to talk about the 3 pillars of Roadmunk governance, which are our best practices that we suggest. And then we will go into the question and answer. All right, so first we're going to talk about managing your team. Within Roadmunk, there are 3 different roles. The first is an account administrator, like yourself. And account administrator is a collaborator type license, but you have enhanced administrator capabilities. You are the manager of your team, and you're the manager of your account. So I'll go over what those different permissions are for an account admin. A collaborator, these users can create, you can own your own roadmap, you can share your own roadmap, and do any editing on roadmaps that have been shared with you. And a reviewer is like a read-only type license. There are some limited things that a reviewer can do, such as comment on a roadmap, and we'll go over these permissions a little bit further. So adding a user manually. This is your user management. I'm going to go into my Roadmunk account so we can look into the account settings and go over adding users, etc. So down here on the left-hand lower side is your account settings. You go into your avatar and into your account settings. And at first you'll see your profile. So this is basic profile information, okay? And I always have everybody take a look at email notifications, because this is where when your users have this set up, they will be sure to get emails when any roadmaps are shared with them, if they are mentioned on a roadmap, if they're assigned to incentives on the roadmap. So definitely it is something to go over, as well as get our Roadmunk newsletter monthly and have that all checked off. All right, now let's go into the users tab. Here we can see this is where you manage your users, have our collaborators, our reviewers, and any inactive users. If you ever need to inactivate a user, you just slide this toggle and they'll become an inactive user. And then if you do want to activate them again, you can go into your inactive users and activate them. All right. Now to invite users, go to your invite user button, sorry about that. And then you put in the email that they're going to be using within Roadmunk, choose the role that they are, and then first name and last name, and invite. When you invite them, they will get an email in their inbox, and this email will have a link to Roadmunk, which then they can go to, and they'll be setting up their username and password. Okay. If you want to add users in bulk, we can do that by importing users. When you import users, there's a template here, which is a CSV, okay, which will have the same information as you would put in Roadmunk. And the CSV, it has the same information. It'll be the first name, last name, email, and role. and then you just import it into Roadmunk by dropping it here, and it will add those users in bulk, okay? So that's basically how you would add your users. If you ever want to change the role, you can just pull down this menu and do that, as well as if you want to delete users, say, you know, somebody leaves the company, then you can delete it, inactivate the user first, and then delete it from this option, okay? So next we're going to go on to Teams. Teams is a really great feature. It's one that only account administrators can do. You can set up a team, and what this will do, so for instance, my onboarding team. I have 9 members in my onboarding team. So when a roadmap is shared with a team, you can share it with that many members and the entire team rather than sharing it with individual users, okay? So I'm going to return, and when you do add a team, you just enter in the names of the users, enter in the name of the team, describe what the team is, and then you're going to enter in the users of the team. Okay, you can go next. And then we're just going to enter in the names. These are all the names of all the people that are in your Roadmunk account. And you would just go in and start adding users to your A+ team. All right, so this is how you would add teams, return to teams, and there you go. All right, so next we're going to go into company. Company information, if you want to put your logo here, you can do that. That's really great for when you export your roadmaps to URL. It will put your company logo on what your audience sees, okay? And then further here, this is where you would set up your single sign-on. So if you toggle this, this is setting up your single sign-on. So for instance, if you use Okta or Azure DevOps for single sign-on, you would get the metadata and drop it here. We will provide our metadata, and you take that back to your provider, and then it makes the handshake to set up your SSO. When you do use single sign-on, you can enforce the whole account to use it, or you can just have it as a single sign-on, and the user will have the option to also sign in with username or password. If you enforce it, it's only single sign-on option. Okay, now we go to permissions. Permissions is specifically for feedback and idea modules. If you can click off the permissions for the different roles, if you want to limit the functionality that they do have in these modules. Security, this is where you would add different login methods, okay? So the user can go to login method and they can add a Google, or they can add SSO if SSO is set up on the account. Integrations. So if you have other software, integrations that you want to add to use with your Roadmunk account, this is where you can do it. And that would be such as Jira, Azure DevOps, GitHub, etc. These are all of the integrations that we do support at Roadmunk. Okay, if you wanted to add an integration, and this is done by the account admin. This is the first step in adding the server to your account, and account admin does that. After that, any collaborator or account admin can create a roadmap with a project after the server is set up. So you would go add an integration. You choose the software that you'd like to integrate, give it a name, put the URL in, and create the integration. It's as simple as that. And once that's done, the server is available for any roadmap that wants to be integrated with a project. Billing, if you are a self-serve account, your billing information will be here. If you're an invoiced account, we take care of managing that. And this is what you'll see if you're a managed account. Reports, if you are set up with reports, this is a great place to go once in a while to audit your account. You can see the usage of the Roadmunk account. You can see the field usage report. We're going to go into fields, and you'll understand why this is important to pull once in a while. Look if you have duplicates, and just keep the account clean. And the user report, you can see all the users within your Roadmunk account. and you can see their last login date, so see the adoptability of the tool. Okay, so now we're going to close out of the account settings, and I'm going to go back to my slides, and we're going to talk about the roles and permissions. So roadmap sharing and ownership. Collaborators can own a roadmap, and they can share that roadmap with any other Roadmunk user within your account. Account administrators, they can own and share anybody's roadmap. Okay, transferring roadmap ownership. A collaborator that owns the roadmap, they can transfer that ownership to another collaborator or account admin. And account admin, they can transfer any roadmap ownership. This comes in handy, say if somebody leaves a company and they own roadmaps, an account admin can go in and they can transfer the ownership to another user within Roadmunk. Sharing roadmaps, roadmap owners can share their own roadmaps with any user within the account, be it a collaborator or a reviewer, and an account admin can share anybody's roadmap. Deleting roadmaps, a roadmap owner can delete their own roadmap, and an account administrator can delete any roadmap. This is something we emphasize caution around, because deleting roadmaps, if it's done when it's not meant to be, so an error, that's something that then you would contact support and we would be able to get that back for you. But we do put safety measures around. You have to archive a roadmap before you can delete it, and definitely it's not easy to do. So we put caution around that. These next two slides are about the permissions on roadmaps themselves, source roadmaps, and then the next slide is for portfolios, because the permissions are a bit different. So you see the owner, editor, and viewer. We will be providing these slides so you can go through these specifically to know what type of permissions each role has. So this is for source roadmaps, and this is specifically for portfolio roadmaps, which I'm going to go through a little bit further in the presentation. And you can just see what the difference is from portfolios to source roadmaps with these two slides. So now we get to the 3 pillars of Roadmunk governance. So this is our suggested best practices. So we're going to go through these. First is account field standardization and management. All right, so within Roadmunk, we have two different types of fields. One is an account field. An account field is a common field that is used across the account. So everybody has access to account fields to use on their roadmaps. And the other is a roadmap field. A roadmap field is individual to that specific roadmap you're working on, and nobody else has access to that field to use on their own roadmaps. So speaking about account fields, we recommend naming conventions, and that be the department that is using that account field specifically, and the field name. So what is it about? Is it about status? Is it about owner? So whatever that field is going to be about. I'm going to take you into my account so I can kind of give you an example. Okay, so this is one of my product management roadmaps. Okay, this is our item view screen. Now across the top, these are our account fields or our roadmap fields. And you can see how I have them named. This is for my product management team, it's the theme. Product management team, it's the owner. Because you can have many teams. This is how we add a field. I'm just showing you all my account fields. You can have many teams working within Roadmunk, and when you're choosing account fields, you want to know which one is for your team. Because for instance, my digital team has the word status, and my product management team has the word status, but we use different words for them. So that's why you want to know which field belongs to which team. This can get very long, this list, so it just makes it easier when you do have it named properly. As well, you can favorite fields. You see my favorite fields up here. So these fields are always going to land at the top of this list, so they're easy to pick out. You don't have to go through this full list. And this is individual for end users, so they set up their own favorite fields. And how do you do that? It's very simple. you go onto your field, click the gear, and it'll let you favorite the field. So once you favorite that field, it'll come at the top of the list, okay? I do have some duplicates in here, and that's meant to be because I'm going to use those duplicates in a moment to show you another function that we have, okay? So how do you add a field? Create a new field, and we're going to, this is for our product management team, okay? And this is going to be, I'm going to put value. So I'm going to show you how you add the values. You can have a list, team members, number, multi-select, or text, okay? Enter in a description of what this field is about, why it's used, why you want your end users to use it. And then you put in the values that you're going to assign to the projects or incentives items over here, okay? Oops. All right, so you create a field. And once you see the field pop up, you'll see that this is grayed out. This icon is grayed out. That indicates that it's a roadmap field. This icon is bolded. That indicates it's an account field. If I click into the gear and I edit, this tells me this is an account field. It belongs to 137 roadmaps, okay? As well, if I click into this gear, edit, this is a roadmap field, and it only belongs to this particular roadmap. And then once you have your field created, you would add the values to your incentives or your items, the projects that you're working on, okay? So now that's how you create a field in the first place. As account admins, you will be creating your account fields. How do we make this roadmap field an account field? So you click on the gear and you do what we call promote it. Go to edit, go down to more actions, and you want to promote, okay? And you may do this as well if you're creating a field on your roadmap and you feel that the rest of your team will use this field, so you want to make it an account field. You would promote it, and now this is an account field, okay? We update the field, and now everybody in your account will be able to use it. This is how we create fields and promote them. So let's go back to our slides. Account field management. If you want to restrict the access, certain fields like a company account field, so a very common field like owner's status, things that you don't want changed by collaborators, then you just keep that as an account min access. If it's a team specific field, so you're okay with collaborators adding values or making changes, then you can give them access to it by sharing, inviting the collaborators to share that field with. Promoting roadmap fields to account fields, we just went through that. How to merge fields. Okay, so within your Roadmunk account, you may get fields that are duplicated. So you want to keep it clean. You want to go through it and make sure that you merge these duplicates so that you don't have standardizes it and it keeps it clean. So how do you do that? So if I go to my product here and I edit, again, I go down to the left here, more actions, and I merge. Okay, so there's four fields here. I'm going to find another product here. Sorry, I thought it was there. We'll use digital status because we know we have two of those. Okay. Add a field. Okay, so we're going to add digital status. Okay. And once that updates, let's go to merge, edit, go down to merge. And we have digital status here, and we have digital status here. So we might as well merge these. This has one account value, this has 5. So let's merge them. and it'll show you what it's merging over, because this merge field is going to delete. Okay, we're going to map the values, and now we have the one value move over, and we're keeping these other 4 values. Okay, so now we confirm, and we'll get rid of that duplicate field. Okay, so that's the one way that you can merge them. And now we'll keep it nice and clean. Another way is that when you go to your main screen, the system does read your fields, and we have suggested merges. So once in a while, it's good to pop in here, see if there's any suggested merges. You'll have the suggestions. Okay, this is suggesting mapping roadmap field into product value. That doesn't make sense, so we're just going to back out of there and not map those values, because they're not the same fields. Okay, if they are the same fields, then that's a good suggestion to get rid of those duplicates. All right. So how to favorite fields. That's something that we went over. And like I said, very good, because your favorite fields will come to the top of your list rather than having to read through the list each time, because you know these are the fields you're gonna use often. Okay. Roadmap naming conventions. So we definitely suggest making naming conventions. We have what we suggest is department, and then team, and then roadmap. Because this, then when you go into your list of roadmaps, you'll know which belongs to which. So I'm going to take you to my account just to show you what I mean. So these are all of my roadmaps. Here, I know this belongs to my customer success team. I know this belongs to my ops team, and this is for my product management roadmaps, okay? So right away, and it's alphabetical, I know which I want to access. So that's why naming conventions are important. And when we get into portfolios, I'll show you again why naming conventions are important. Visualization types. Okay, again, naming conventions. When you have visualizations, we have 2 different types of visualizations. I'm going to go into a roadmap again. We have 2 different visualizations in Roadmunk. One is a swim lane, and then which swim lane is more agile, it's not as date dependent. And then a timeline is very date dependent. So you're plotting from, projects from start to finish. So this is where our visualizations, you can choose from our visualizations, and you can see that this becomes very long. This can become very long. So we suggest putting, if it's a swim lane or a timeline, then what the visualization is about. Because you can have a visualization that has all the data, or you can filter all the data into something that you want to see all the time, in progress and scheduled. So I don't have to filter, my roadmap every single time I want to see this. I can create a visualization that shows this. So if you name it right away, you'll know that these are what these roadmaps are about. So this visualization is filtered by status, and it's my stoplight custom palette. So right away, I know this is what I like to present to, my management all the time, a stoplight palette. So I create a visualization like that, and I name it correctly, so I know which one to pick. Okay, custom templates, best practices. So custom templates is actually a real exciting new feature that we've just come out with. And it really saves a lot of time and for account administrators, for end users, and it gets the end users off on the right foot by creating a template with the proper account fields in it, with the proper visualizations. It starts your users off on a really good foot. So I'm going to go back into my account, and I'm going to show you where you can access them and how you can make them. So templates are in this area. If you click in here, Roadmunk templates, these are templates that we've created for you. And to start you off, if you click into these, you can see that they're formatted with specific fields, with specific visualizations, okay, and specific color palettes. If you like this, you can use it. You can use a template blank, or you can use a template with the sample data if it's something that you find useful. When we go back, account templates. So this is what we're talking about. We can make, an account admin can make a template so that your team can go into templates. You tell them the name of the template they're to use, and they can come in, they can click on it, and you can see that you have your certain account field set up, okay? And then once you set up the account fields for your users, you can see that, okay, those are the ones that they'll be using. So that's just the way to get off on a good standard usage of the roadmaps, okay? As well, you can set up visualization. So I want all my team to have this stoplight status roadmap. So you can set up the visualization. Then they would use this template. They can start empty, or if there's data within the template that you want them to have, you can put data within there. And then when they do use the template, they can use all that data, or they can delete what they really don't need, okay? Now let's go back. How do you make these templates? It's actually very easy. So when you go to your roadmaps and you find a roadmap that you want to use as a template, then you just click on it, and then it's going to load with all of the visualizations, all of the formatting and fields. And you go over to this gear, and you duplicate it as a template, okay? You can enter in the template description, so be very specific as to why you would use this, your end users would use it, and who would use it, create. All right, and that was my Kyle's team roadmap. And now when I go into my templates, I can see my Kyle's team template right there, okay? Very easy to create. You can also create it from this button, and then you would be creating that from scratch. The one I showed you is one that's already created. Creating a template here would be creating it from scratch, okay? All right. Okay, so now we're to portfolio road mapping. Portfolio road mapping, what we've been looking at so far is source roadmaps, is what we call them. So they are your source roadmap attached to, say, one project that you're working on. And portfolio roadmaps is a larger roadmap that you can roll up 2 or more source roadmaps into. So portfolio roadmaps are very useful if you have different teams and you want to, say, present all the teams together. If you want to present many roadmaps to executives, then this is where portfolio roadmaps come into play. So I'm going to take you through making a portfolio roadmap so that you can see how all of these, best practices come into play, especially when making a portfolio roadmap. So we're going to go to all roadmaps, and we're going to create a roadmap by going add road. And we're going to create a new portfolio, okay? So this is going to be product management, and we're going to do portfolio. Okay, you can create a swim lane or a timeline, and we create it from here. Now you're going to see on the right-hand side, it pulls up all of my source roadmaps to choose from. And you can see the naming conventions really help here because I can choose exactly which ones I want to use as my source roadmaps. They're all alphabetized, so it is not hard to choose which ones you want to use. So I'm going to use my Kenobi team and my dates team. So these 2 source roadmaps are going to make one. So we have 101 items with 2 sources. I'm going to update that. Now, at any time, if you do choose that you want to change those sources, or you want to add them or take any sources away, you can click on this button again and change that at any time, okay? So now we have a source roadmap. This is all the data that's come from those 2 roadmaps. Right now, it defaults to roadmap source. So we have Dave's team and we have the Kenobi team, okay? And then you would further format that. Now, before doing any of that, I'm going to take you into the item view because I want to show you the fields, the account fields that have been used, and why they're important to have naming conventions and that they're standardized and that all your teams understand that they should be using the common fields, okay? So I have Dave's team here, that roadmap. And if I scroll down, I have my Kenobi team. You can see that they've all used the same account fields when they're creating their own source roadmaps. And that means that this is going to be tidy. We're not going to have two status fields and have to manually clean it up and move the values back and forth. This is making a very nice, neat roadmap, and that's what your goal is. Okay. So now when we go to the timeline, you can see all of our milestones have pulled over, our linked items have pulled over, and they're from two separate roadmaps, okay? So when we go into the formatting tool, you would format it like you do a source roadmap, okay? So you can change the header, use an existing field. Here's our common fields. Now there again, you're looking at common fields, which means these are the fields that are common to these source roadmaps. So we're going to choose theme. So when you're formatting, you want to be using the common fields. Otherwise, it's not going to pull over the information correctly. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Okay. Didn't want to do that. Okay, so we're going to use an existing field. And we're going to put owner. Okay, so now you can see that it's mixing the information of those two source roadmaps as we organize them. So sometimes you'll see these empty lines on your roadmaps, and that just means that these headers don't have any data in them yet. So you want to hide those empty headers, and that's going to clean up your roadmap. It'll look nice and tidy, and I'll do that after that update. And again, down here, you can add further information like item progress. You can add a label suffix if you wanted to say add status in there. And then once that happens, you can, internet seems to be acting up a little bit. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to refresh, and that should help it out. Once we format this on the layout, I'm going to show you how you can color it. You can color it by source roadmaps, because then, sorry about that, then you can see which item is coming from which source. Okay, I think I need to just refresh again. Actually, it's working here, sorry. Okay.
This is the fun part of doing live demos, right?
Exactly, very fun. Very fun. Okay, so yeah, once this updates, we'll be able to take a look at it. Okay, you know what, I might just close this down. All right, looks like we're back in motion here. So let's just continue with that formatting. Like I said, I want to hide these empty lines. Okay, that cleans up our view. All right, and then once that's done, like I said, we can add further information, % complete, if you have that, if you do have that field populated. Okay, you can see the % complete as well as the bars will shade for that %. Label suffix, if you want to add further information, say we can add status, and that will populate on the item line as well. We can see that this is 100% and it's completed. Okay, when we go to the colors, this is where I was explaining. You can color by the roadmap source. You can color by your pivot points. So we're pivoting by owner and theme. If you wanted to do that, you can also color by the items, say the status of the item. So I'm going to color by the roadmap source. So I can give you an example of how it looks two mixed roadmaps, and you can tell which one is which by coloring by the roadmap source. I'm using the color palette Groovy because it's nice and colorful. So we have different color lines because there's two different roadmap sources. If I pull up this legend, the red is for the Kenobi team and the green is for Dave's team. So that's just a little tip if you do want to color it that way. And that's what roadmap portfolio road mapping is about, and kind of how those best practices really tie into making the portfolio roadmaps. We do have our learning center on roadmunk.com, and that's where you can find further information, as well as our knowledge base, where we have more in-depth articles that are, say, more technical. If you want to do some self-learning, we have a lot of videos and tutorials. And then we do on our website, we have a lot of great resources such as ebooks and guides from the product managers, etc.
Yeah, and the slide deck will be shared with you, so you'll have those links. I do have a couple of questions for you, Cheryl, so let me know when you're ready for them.
Okay, yes, go right ahead.
Great, awesome. So I'm going to start with a portfolio question we got since you were just on that topic. When making a portfolio roadmap, why do you have to choose one or the other type of visualization? Confusing to end users to have to make duplicate portfolio roadmaps just to have access to both a swim lane and a timeline.
Okay, so I do understand, because one difference between a source roadmap and a portfolio roadmap is you can only have one visualization. You'll notice on a portfolio you don't have the choice. We do give the option to be swim lane or timeline, because some people prefer to work with a swim lane, some people prefer to work with a timeline. So this is why we've set it up that way. I do understand if you're making, if it's something that you're making two different ones, but this is why it is that way.
All right, we have another question. On non-portfolio roadmaps, can I add the status, or is that only on portfolio roadmaps?
Non-portfolio roadmaps, you definitely can add the status. So for instance, when I was formatting and on the layout and I was choosing status, okay, formatting a portfolio roadmap is very similar to formatting a source roadmap. So these would be the same type of fields that you would have to choose from. So we have status here. That would be the same on a source roadmap, which I'll just bring you to, and so we can take a look at that. So when we go to our item view, we have status as well, and we can put that on the visualization, just like we did with the portfolio.
Awesome. Another question, can a portfolio roadmap have its sources edited by two different users? We face an issue where only the portfolio roadmap creator can alter the sources.
If a source roadmap is shared with those users that have the source roadmap shared with them, as well as the portfolio roadmap shared with them, can edit a portfolio. If they aren't shared on the source roadmap, they won't be able to do that.
All right, and I think we had a similar question at the very beginning also. How can I make changes to a portfolio roadmap if I only have access to some of the source roadmaps? I didn't believe that's relevant, right?
Yeah, that's the same thing. If you have access to the portfolio, have access to the source roadmap as well, if you do want to make changes to the portfolio.
All right, awesome. Can you have a portfolio set up with multiple portfolios as its source? For example, looking to have individual product roadmaps rolled up to a portfolio for a category, then master portfolio with multi-product categories. So a portfolio of portfolios.
Right, I do understand. At this point, no, we don't have a portfolio of portfolios, but this is, something that we'll put in as a feature request. I believe it's already one. So something that we will send to our product managers to definitely consider.
All right, I have a couple more. So another question, how can I filter views on the full data or item view, or do I have to create a swim lane?
Okay, actually, that's a very good question, because I did want to show filters. Filters are definitely very important for portfolios. So I'm going to show the portfolios filtering first, and then I'll take you to a source roadmap. So if you're, presenting to say executives or your team, and you just want to zone in on certain information because portfolios can hold a lot of data. You want to go to your filter, which is up at the top here. Okay, and then you add a filter. Say we just want to look at status, and we just want to know what's in progress, and shrink down that data so we can focus on that. Quickly, you'll be able to see just the data that you're looking for. So that's how filters really are very powerful when you're working with portfolios. Okay, so if you want all your data back, you clear all the filters, update, and everything's going to come back. All right, so now I'm going to go into the source roadmap and talk about that. Okay, so when we're on a source roadmap, yep, there we go. In a source roadmap, you can use filters on any visualization. So if you have all data here, if you wanted to add a filter, you can filter that information down so that you can look at it and the same thing, really focus on information. All right, so if you wanted to look at theme, you just want your deliverables. Okay, so we go to deliverables and you can update the filter. So you can do that, and then if you wanted to, you can set this as a visualization. Sorry, I need to go here, and you can duplicate the view, and then you would name it, and that now that becomes a filtered view. Okay, so then you give it a name. And now it's by status. So if you duplicate that, it's going to come into your visualizations, and you'll have another visualization filtered by status, but your all data visualization is still there. Does that answer the question, Jewett?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Another question that I have here for you, let's see. I can't seem to demote an account level field to a roadmap level field. How can this be done?
Okay, so if you want to demote an account field and you want to make it back into a roadmap field, that is, you can do that, but you can only do it if that account field is not connected to a portfolio. So if that account field is used in a portfolio, you won't be able to demote it because basically it's a common field, and that's not one that you would want to demote.
Okay, awesome. Another question, can reviewers duplicate roadmaps and use custom templates?
Reviewers can duplicate roadmaps. That's one thing that they can, that's amongst the other things that they can do. They can duplicate roadmaps, and I believe, Ben or Cody, can you jump in here? Can a reviewer duplicate a portfolio? Might have to go back to my information here. Okay, so we have our viewers. Okay, they can view a roadmap, they can add comments and mentions, and they can export to PNG. And I guess it is only a editor that can duplicate a roadmap. Sorry.
That's right, Cheryl. Yeah, sorry, Cheryl. I should have stepped in there, but yes, the short answer is no. Reviewers can only view and comment on roadmaps that have been specifically shared with them. So, unfortunately, they cannot duplicate roadmaps and use custom templates. Okay, super. Thank you so much, Ben. And like using a custom template is basically to start off your users with the right fields and stuff to create a roadmap. So a reviewer wouldn't have to use a custom template because they're basically read-only. All
right. A few more questions. Can I share roadmaps to external stakeholders who don't have Roadmunk license?
Yes, definitely, that can be done. Okay. Reviewers, they can export views. So this is the way that we can do this is by exporting your roadmaps, exporting views. Reviewers can export to PNG and HTML, and then collaborators and account admins can publish a roadmap to URL. I'm going to bring you to the account so I can show you how to do this. Definitely, it's a great tool for sharing your roadmap outside of your Roadmunk account. Okay, so we're going to go to a roadmap. You can do this with a source roadmap or a portfolio. Okay, we're going to go over to our export center. All right, click export, export to PNG, HTML, or URL. PNG is great for, say, a PowerPoint presentation or to make a PDF. HTML is great to embed the code into a Confluence page or some type of intranet. And then URL is a link that you can provide to external audiences, and they will be able to see your roadmap. They'll also be able to have a bit of interaction. So you can change the formatting here. This is where you could put your company logo that I showed in the account settings, and it goes onto the exported URL. You can hide fields if there happens to be one of these that's confidential. Auto publish is if you want your changes to be seen real time by your audience or on a certain schedule, you can have that. If you want to show your linked items line, so if there's linked items, which means that they're related to each other, you can show those lines. You can password protect and put a vision statement. Okay, now when we publish the URL, it's going to create a link that you can provide to your audience. So we can see it's working. Okay, we can copy the link, copy it here as well. And then when it's done working, oh, I didn't have patience. Patience is a virtue. Okay, so you want to publish it to URL. Okay, we're going to open the link, and I'll just show you what your audience sees. All right, so this is what your audience sees. They can click into the item line, and they can see all this information. So the percentage complete, who it's assigned to. Now, if there was a description here, this is where you can really take advantage of the descriptions of these projects so that you can pass that information along to your audience, okay? And then if they go down to the bottom, this was a little bit more populated. I chose a filtered visualization. They'll be able to see the legend of what all of this information is about, okay? That's what your audience sees. Now, say you did a whole bunch of changes to this roadmap, and you don't want them to see it anymore. You can delete that. You can delete the URL, okay? And now, when your audience does go to that URL, they will get a polite little message telling them that it no longer exists. So they'll use the new one that you sent them, or they will ask for it. All right, so that's how you publish your roadmaps.
Perfect, thank you, Cheryl. One last question, and we're almost running out of time. So if anybody else has more questions, this is the time to ask. Who can use the feedback and idea modules? Do you need admin access to use them?
So again, on the feedback and idea modules, I'm going to bring you into the account settings just for a second. Permissions tab will let you know who can use what in a feedback and idea module. Reviewers can comment on ideas, and they can add customer and contact. So they all of the roles do have access to it. Okay, so when we do go to the feedback and idea modules, so reviewers will be able to see all of the feedback, okay? And they can add a comment here. So if they wanted to, give feedback about, say, something like sub items, then they'll be able to make a comment. And the product areas, okay? So account admins and I believe I believe, let me just take a look. Account admins and collaborators can make product areas, okay, and they can share their product areas. And then as well, they can process ideas, or sorry, process feedback, which would be here. So if you wanted to process some feedback and attach it to ideas, collaborators and account admins can do that. We go into our ideas module, okay, it would be collaborators and account admins that can manage the idea module, do the prioritization scoring, do any sorting of the prioritization, and attach this to roadmaps. So this idea, if I wanted to attach it to a roadmap, I can do that, okay?
Thank you, Cheryl. That was amazing. And thank you for showing us where to find all that information, because it's definitely hard to remember everything. All right, on that note, I think we can go back to our slides. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you very much.